Alright, good evening class. My name is Corporal Striplin. We'll be going over training and educating in the Army. This brief is unclassified, so if you need to take notes, you can. And if you have any questions after the brief, you can refer back to the slide. The overall risk assessment is low. If you feel thirsty, feel free to tell me about it. We could take a break in the middle of the class so you guys could get some water. Be cautious of tripping hazards, just watch your step. And then in case of a fire, there's an exit to my right, and then there's an exit to your right. So the purpose of this brief is to understand the importance of training and educating soldiers and the importance of leaders having proficiency in both. So overview, we're going to talk about what leadership is and how education and training play an important role in leadership. Definition of education, why is education important in the Army? How does the Army educate? Definition of training, why is training important in the Army? How the Army expect us as soldiers to train. Does a leader need to be proficient in both? And then the STEP program. Define leadership. So this definition comes straight out of ADP 6-22. It's defined as the act of influencing others by providing purpose, direction, and motivation to accomplish a common goal. Leaders can provide this influence and mentorship the best by applying their experiences through their training and education that they've had throughout their career. So the definition of education, the skills and knowledge acquired through education tend to be more theoretical and allow students to develop reasoning and judgment surrounding broad topics. So the Army educates all MOSs in the Army, and it's not just one occupational specific skill, okay? Why is education important in the Army? The Army uses education to develop its soldiers. It instills next level skills. So as you progress through the Army, you have to know how to manage your responsibilities better, and the Army will provide that knowledge to you. It allows soldiers to apply critical thinking and judgment to their understanding of a topic. How does the Army educate? So for example, we have SHARP and EO briefs, right? Everybody in the Army has to have a SHARP and EO brief once a year in the Army, right? We have BLC, ALC, and SLC. Those are your leadership courses. So if I was an E5 trying to become a staff sergeant, I'd have to go to ALC, and that's the Army educating me in the skills I would need to be a staff sergeant, right? Because that would be squad leader, and I'm a team leader right now. Alright, and then Army schools, like Air Assault School, before you go into sling loads, you have classroom portions of the school so you can understand those loads better and all the sling ropes, right? Definition of training. The Army trains to fight and win. To do this, the Army trains by developing proficiencies in mission essential tasks, weapon systems, and the effective integration and employment of both. So as you can see, every MOS has a different mission essential task, right? Infantry, their mission essential task is to close with and destroy the enemy. Maybe not supply, right? Their mission essential task would be to sustain, okay? Why is training important in the Army? Training sustains mission readiness, so we can't deploy downrange if we're not certified in team live fires, squad live fires, and then platoon live fires, right? We acquire those skills to get certified through training. Stewardship, especially as leaders, we need to leave behind skills and knowledge by providing that training to our own soldiers. And then we need to set the example for our soldiers to follow. So we can't only just be able to guide them during the garrison and show them where to go and all these Army programs. We also need to have that tactical knowledge to be able to lead them in combat. So how does the Army expect us to train? We need to train as we fight. This involves the unit and ourselves to replicate the battlefield as much as possible. So just because we have blank rounds, right, that doesn't mean we could just act as if we don't need cover, okay, or we don't need an IMT. All that stuff still needs to be conducted just as it would in combat. Train to standard. The Army wants us to train, but it doesn't want us to train to a time standard. It needs us to train to expertise, okay? So we don't stop training until we reach that expertise. Train to sustain. Once we acquire those skills, we could easily lose them if we're not consistently training. Conditions can change too, right? We could get new personnel, our equipment can fail, and we could, resource constraints. All this stuff could worsen our skills we've acquired through all this training, and we need to constantly exercise those skills so they can improve. Then, of course, we need to train to maintain. A good example of this is in the patrol base during the priorities of work. We maintain our equipment first by doing weapons maintenance. We maintain ourselves by chow, hygiene, and rest, right? That's what they mean by train to maintain. We're maintaining personnel and equipment while we're in the fight, okay? So, should leaders be proficient in both training and education? I think they should, okay? A leader can't just be good at garrison and be able to guide their soldiers to, civilian education, the soldier center. They also need to be able to guide their soldiers in combat, okay? So I think being proficient and knowledgeable about Army programs and being proficient and knowledgeable about your warrior task and drills is very important when you're leading soldiers. So the Army has this program they use to promote soldiers, right? It's called the STEP program. So S is to select. This will be your team leader, squad leader, and platoon sergeant. They'll see that, okay, you're T for trained, which is the T in STEP, and now you show these leadership potential, right, to go educate to be a leader, right? So your platoon sergeant will say, the soldier's T for trained. They'll put you into the board, and the board will decide if you're educated, okay? The board's going to test all your knowledge throughout your whole Army career, right? And then also, you'll go to a leadership school, BLC, ALC, or SLC, and this is where the Army's going to educate you on how to be the best leader you can when you promote, okay? And then, of course, once you're educated and you're selected and you're trained, you'll promote. All right, so summary. We discussed what leadership is, educating in the Army, training in the Army, why leaders should have education and training proficiency, right? They should be proficient in both. All right, any questions? This concludes my brief.